Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, I think you know that I have great respect for the men and women of the FBI, their mission, fidelity, bravery, integrity. I believe they deserve a director who respects our work and sacrifices, and they deserve a director who's focused on their mission. This is not about bingo cards or games. This is not about revenge. This is about the safety of our country and the people that work in the FBI. And the FBI runs on facts, it runs on truth. Truth matters, and without truth, the whole system breaks down. You said that Donald Trump has every right to tell the world that in 2020, 2016, and every other election in between was rigged by our government because they were. Yes or no, did you say that?
I don't have that statement in front of me. But
okay, that was from August 27th, 2023, Thrive Time show. I'll put it on the record. These claims made in that statement were rejected by courts, including by Republican judges. Is that correct?
I don't have enough of the facts in front of me to make that assessment.
I will put that statement on the record, but I think everyone in this committee, including the Republican members, knows that these statements were rejected by courts. You were asked about the police officers in the Capitol who testified in the January 6 hearings, and you accused them of lying. Is that correct or not correct?
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay, Joe Packed podcast, March 2024, we'll put it on the record. I was there. The police officers were heroes that day.
Yes.
Did you post on your personal social media account in May of 2024, January 6th, never an insurrection, cowards in uniforms exposed. They broke the chain of command.
I believe you're referencing a post that was shown in part earlier. I don't have it in front of me.
You posted it, and it was on your account, and we will again put that out there once more as we go on. I don't want to lose any more time on this, but every one of these, there's a record of it, and you haven't answered. You promoted a COVID vaccine reversal or detox supplement. One scientist said, I quote, none of these substances in any form would minimize side effects from a COVID-19 vaccine. That is preying on innocent people. Did you perform clinical trials before you made that claim?
I'm not a doctor, so no.
But you did promote this supplement and told people that it would reverse or mitigate the side effects from COVID vaccine.
Did I give people an opportunity to make an independent choice for what's best for their families? Yes.
You did that last year, correct?
I don't have it in front of me again, Senator.
Mr. Patel, the FBI tackles some of the most complex threats that we face. Terrorists, hostile foreign powers, violent gangs, fentanyl, criminal organizations. Your mission, though, has been to go after people. I've looked at it. I've read this stuff. Yes or no? When Trump wins, did you say this? When Trump wins in 2024 and is in power in 2025, we can prosecute them, referring to Justice Department officials for an actual RICO statute violation, for criminally organizing the United States government to break the law to rig presidential elections. Did you say that, yes or no?
Again, Senator, you're reading a partial statement, so I'm unable to fully respond.
Okay, again, we'll put it on the record. X22 report podcast 20, that is from, I'll get you the date, about a year ago. One of the names on your list was Bill Barr. Chairman Grassley has called him one of the most capable cabinet officials I've ever been able to vote for. Senator Graham has said, I have nothing but total respect and admiration for the job done by William Barr as Attorney General of the United States. Is Bill Barr on your list of whatever you want to call them, been referred to as an enemies list? You've called them deep state after serving his country as the Attorney General of the United States. Is he on your list because of a personal vendetta?
Well, it's not whatever we want to call it, Senator. With all due respect, it's not an enemies list. That is a total mischaracterization.
I asked you, I actually used the words you used for the list, which was deep state, right? That's what you put at the top.
It is a glossary
against the Attorney General of the United States. Is it because of a personal vendetta that he's on the list? You're under oath.
I have no personal vendetta against Bill Barr.
Okay, he said about you, you would never be able to command the respect necessary to run the day-to-day operations of the Bureau. That was actually in writing in his book. He had virtually, about you, no experience that would qualify you to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency, and that your appointment, as noted by Senator Durbin as Deputy Director to the FBI, would happen over his dead body. Is it, yes or no, why you would put him on the list of deep state as a former Attorney General, Trump Attorney General of the United States, because he wouldn't break the law for Donald Trump? Is that why?
Absolutely not.
As you know, he repeatedly told the president in no uncertain terms that he did not see evidence of fraud that would have affected the outcome of the election. Did you say in February of 2021 that the election stuff was never my job and I stayed all of it all, I stayed out of that stuff?
Again, I don't know what comment you're referring to, but I'm sure you're reading a piece of something.
You said it on Pushback on a podcast. Is it true, though, that in December of 2020, you reached out to the Trump acting deputy attorney general and asked him to investigate a conspiracy theory claiming that people in Italy had used military technology and satellites to remotely tamper with voting machines in the U.S. and switch votes for Trump from Trump to Biden? Is that true?
What was the date?
That was out of December of 2020.
I was chief of staff to the Department of Defense, so I don't believe that's accurate anyway.
Okay, that came out of testimony before Congress. I will give it to you. Have you referred to the media as the most powerful enemy of the United States that they have ever seen? Is that right?
Again, you're reading a quote. I take that you're reading it accurately.
CPAC 22324. You said we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens who helped Joe Biden rig the elections. We're going to come after you whether it's criminally or civilly. Is that something you said?
That's a partial statement of what I said.
Steve Bannon's podcast. You also said you would put the entire fake news mafia press corps on your list. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
I don't have that in front of me.
Benny Johnson's podcast, 82123. You have said that the FBI, including today, you said that they remain utterly corrupt. This is an agency with agents who have taken down terrorists, taken down bank robbers, taken down crime. And you wrote that the FBI has become so thoroughly compromised that it will remain a threat to the people unless drastic measures are taken. Do you know that under Chris Wray's leadership, he took over at a very difficult time, we all know that, appointed by President Trump, that during his tenure, the applications to the FBI has, in fact, tripled? Do you think people would be applying to that agency, like in those numbers, if they thought it was so corrupt?
The American public's trust in it is at 40%. That's an all-time low.
Did you say that the FBI headquarters should be shut down and reopened as a museum of the deep state?
Mr. Chairman, are we allowed to go an extra time?
Let's see, you get a second round. Before I call on Senator Lee.
Could he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters, where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism, should
Chair.
be shut down and opened as a deep state,
Hey, Mr. Chair.
as a museum? Did he say that the headquarters should be shut down?
Mr. Chair.
I deserve an answer to that question.
I
He is
guess it's-
asking to be head of the FBI, and he said that their headquarters should be shut down.
Mr. Chair, parliamentary inquiry.
You got anything you want to say, Mr. Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee?
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr.
Chair.
Chairman, I am quoting his own words
Alone.
from September of 2024.
Alone.
It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you had 3 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
Okay, I'll say him again.
As you watch this video, take a moment to ask yourself, what does justice truly mean in America today? Is it still blind, or has it quietly been influenced by power, politics, and personal agendas? Because what's unfolding right now in Washington is more than a political debate, it's a reckoning. A moment where the very foundation of our democracy, the rule of law, and the trust of every American citizen hang in the balance. The hearings we are witnessing aren't just about individuals or scandals. They are about whether our institutions, the courts, the Department of Justice, the FBI, still belong to the people, or whether they've been turned into weapons of political warfare. And that's the question every American should care about, no matter what party you belong to. When justice becomes political, when investigations depend on who's in power rather than what's true, the entire idea of equality before the law begins to crumble. Think about it. What happens when prosecutors are pressured by political leaders? When indictments are hinted at or delayed because of optics, not evidence? When grand juries are influenced by statements from those in power? That's not just bad politics, it's the erosion of democracy itself. The American people deserve a system where every case, every investigation, every charge is rooted in fact, not favoritism. Because when that trust breaks, it's not just about one president or one party. It's about every citizen's faith in fairness. Throughout these hearings, the central theme has been accountability. Are our leaders truly held to the same standard as the rest of us? Or has political power become a shield from responsibility? These aren't abstract questions. They define whether America remains a nation of laws or slips into one of selective justice. It's why legislation to protect our institutions from political interference isn't just needed, it's urgent. Imagine laws that make it illegal for any official, no matter how powerful, to pressure prosecutors. Imagine guaranteed transparency in charging decisions. Imagine a justice system so clear and open that manipulation becomes impossible. That's not a fantasy, it's what democracy demands. But justice doesn't exist in isolation. The hearings have also brought into sharp focus another critical issue: the safety, integrity, and morale of our law enforcement agencies. The FBI, the DEA, the ATF, the US Marshals, these aren't faceless institutions. They are made up of men and women who wake up every day ready to face danger so that the rest of us don't have to. They chase terrorists, dismantle organized crime, stop human traffickers, and tackle cyber criminals who operate in the shadows of the digital world. And yet, in recent years, these agencies have been caught in the crossfire of political attacks, accused of corruption, branded as deep state, and questioned not because of what they've done wrong, but because of what they represent: impartial law enforcement. But what happens when Americans stop trusting the people sworn to protect them? What happens when politics paints every agent as an enemy or every investigation as a conspiracy? The damage is real, to morale, to recruitment, and to national security. The truth is, leadership matters. Leaders who respect the institutions of justice strengthen the nation. Those who weaponize them weaken it. And the people paying the price aren't the politicians, it's the agents risking their lives in the field, it's the families who depend on their protection, and it's the public who loses faith in justice. But this story isn't only about politics or law enforcement. It's about the human cost, especially when it comes to our children and vulnerable communities. The hearings exposed a dark reality that too many Americans overlook. Children are being targeted every single day through online exploitation, social media manipulation, and illegal networks trafficking everything from human lives to laced vaping products. Let's pause for a second. What would you do if your child's favorite game or social platform became the hunting ground for predators? What if algorithms and dark web operations were luring kids into danger while tech companies looked the other way? That's not a hypothetical. It's happening now, and it's getting worse. Protecting our next generation isn't optional, it's an emergency. Law enforcement can't do it alone. Parents, legislators, and the private sector must act together. Stricter regulations, proactive monitoring, and accountability for tech giants who profit from engagement at any cost, that's what's needed. Because when corporate profit outweighs child safety, society loses its moral compass. At the same time, the hearings reminded us of another rising threat: the resurgence of hate. Antisemitism, racism, and violent extremism are growing, both online and offline. The anniversaries of tragic attacks remind us that hate doesn't vanish, it mutates, finds new platforms, and poisons new generations. Combating it requires more than condemnation, it requires commitment. Task forces, stronger hate crime laws, and community partnerships can make a difference, but only if the justice system enforces them without bias. Because if victims begin to believe that justice depends on politics, then hate wins twice, first through violence, and then through impunity. America must show that hate crimes, no matter who commits them or who they target, will be met with swift and impartial justice. And beyond the courtroom, public trust extends to the everyday realities that define life in America: health care, voting rights, and the stability of federal workers who keep the government running. When partisanship leads to government shutdowns, it's not politicians who suffer, it's the single mother waiting for her paycheck, the federal worker missing rent, the family whose access to health care gets delayed. Every decision in Washington echoes in the lives of millions of ordinary Americans. So ask yourself, are we allowing politics to erode the systems that keep society functioning? Are leaders protecting the people, or just protecting themselves? When health premiums skyrocket, when voters question the security of their ballots, when government employees become pawns in partisan standoffs, democracy itself begins to fray. All of these threads, from justice to law enforcement, from child protection to combating hate, from fair elections to government accountability, tie back to one central idea: trust. Trust in institutions. Trust in leadership. Trust that the system works for everyone, not just the powerful few. Without that trust, democracy doesn't just weaken, it collapses. That's why accountability isn't just a political talking point. It's the glue that holds the republic together. Every American should demand it. Because accountability means that when leaders fail, they answer for it. When systems break, they are repaired. And when laws are applied, they are applied equally, from the president to the private citizen. The American experiment was built on the promise that justice would serve truth, not power. If that promise fades, then every hearing, every testimony, every debate we've seen is more than political theater, it's a warning. A warning that democracy can die not through violence, but through apathy. Through the slow erosion of public faith in institutions that were once sacred. So as this national conversation continues, remember this: oversight is not an attack on government. Transparency is not a partisan issue. Reform is not rebellion. They are the very tools that keep power in check. The stakes are too high, the consequences too real, and the future too important to allow corruption or complacency to go unchallenged. America deserves a justice system that's impartial, leadership that's ethical, institutions that are trusted, and a democracy that's strong enough to hold its own leaders accountable. The question is, are we, the people, willing to demand it? Because in the end, this isn't just about Washington. It's about every citizen, every family, and every future generation that depends on us to keep the promise of America alive. Justice. Integrity. Truth. These aren't just words, they are the foundation of freedom itself. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Do you believe the justice system in America is truly fair, or has it become a political tool? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation doesn't end here. It starts with awareness and ends with action. If you found this video thought-provoking, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into America's most pressing issues, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Together, we can keep the conversation and the truth alive.